I want to bring you in on this. You've been, of course, outside Parliament, and I wish I could be there. I wish I could attend this beautiful ceremony that we're expected to see today and what has already sort of been on offer. But Pragya, what is now expected exactly? We believe that dignitaries are going to be sort of seated in Parliament by around 11:30. Who are these dignitaries? And then, of course, the Prime Minister comes. Can you give us a quick overview?
Rahul, so the arrival of guests will start at 11:30 sharp, and I believe Madhav will also be there in the Parliament to see everything in person. Around 12 p.m. There would be dignitaries on stage. The CMs have been invited. We have seen CMs early in the morning ceremony as well. So there are many distinguished people who have been extended this invitation. They all will be there along with the MPs. Then there will be a national anthem which will be followed by an address by the deputy chairman, and there will be messages read out of the vice president and also of the president. Then leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha will also address the gathering. This will be followed by speaker's address and also a release of coin and stamp by the Prime Minister, and thereafter we will see Prime Minister speaking to the distinguished gathering there would be, and he would be addressing them about the Parliament and also the larger message that he wants to send across to all the political parties and to the electorate. Remember, it's a political year. 2024 is a very significant time for BJP government, and especially for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He would be asking for a mandate for the third time, and this would be very crucial vis-a-vis his vision for the country. Remember, this is a confluence of South and North that we have seen today in the Parliament, and a larger message. Last time when they met, when there was a National Council meeting, Prime Minister said if we have few of the seats deficiency in North where we have saturated, we need 100 more seats from the Southern India, and that is why we have seen so much focus on the South by the BJP, and given the fact that Tamil, all the Tamil pride has been focused on by the Prime Minister. We have seen how Tamil Kashi Sangamam, and not just the Tamil Kashi Sangamam, we have seen Telugu Tamil Sangamam also taking place, because these are the communities that are not just in Tamil Nadu, these are the communities spread across the southern states, and the symbol of Sengol, Rahul, this was related to Chola Empire, an empire that spread across various regions, and also the community of the Tamilian, these Adheenams are spread across the region like Andhra Pradesh, states like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana for that matter. So it's a larger political message that Prime Minister has given, besides his vision for Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat, because he does not want any state to be divided, to have that feeling of divisiveness from the integral part of country that right. We have seen, like in Tamil Nadu, we have seen DMK playing up the language politics. He doesn't want that, and that is why the Prime Minister has started this Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat, and that is why we have seen this Tamil Sangamam, Telugu Sangamam program, so that everyone can associate with their roots. And yes, yeah, no. So are you saying that his speech will now begin at around 1 o'clock? What exactly is the time of when the Prime Minister is going to be addressing the nation from within Parliament, Pragya? What we have got from the sources that he will be speaking around 1 o'clock, and before that he'll be releasing a coin and a stamp. So this is what we have got from the sources. Okay, wonderful. Okay, let me go back to some of the reactions that are coming in, viewers, and some of them are not to the taste really of the occasion. Now, there was a tweet that was put out by the RJD, a party that is a part of the boycott of Parliament, and it compares the new structure to a coffin, and I think we can pull that up. I just want to go across to Pranesh, who's in the newsroom also. And before I do that, let me also go back to Pragya. Pragya, any reactions coming in from the ruling party, the BJP, on this? Because I can say for sure that on social media this is not being looked at with any sympathy. This is being seen as an act of grave provocation, Pragya. Yes, we have seen tweets from several BJP leaders. They are saying that this is the level to which they have fallen, disgusting. And, it's horrible and saddening also. And, Tribhuj has a significance in Indian system is what we have been told. The triangular part of the architecture of the democracy has a religious significance as well. And there's a comparison between having said that this is a coffin that has been compared to the newly inaugurated Parliament that has been taken in a very, very bad taste. And I'm sure that not just the political parties, but even the electorates of RJD would not like this to happen. In democracy, you can have protest and you can have boycotts, but having, compare a seat of democracy with that of a coffin is unwarranted and uncalled for.
Unwarranted and uncalled for. So the government and the BJP, etc., also now taking umbrage at this. Dr. Ranganathan, what do you make of this?
I think it's really appalling and disgusting, and it also shows you in no small measure the ignorance that our politicians sadly have about our history, our culture, our mythology, and our science, our geometry. I mean, this kind of architecture is ingrained in Indian and Hindu civilization. It is intertwining of many architecture elements. In fact, just today in the Sunday Guardian, there's a wonderful piece by the architect, Mr. Patel, explaining how ancient scriptures were consulted in order to make the design of this new parliament. And if you remember, not many would know, certainly RJD members would not know that the Lutyens parliament that was designed by Edwin Lutyens was almost a complete replica of the, I think, 13th century Yogeshwari temple. So we've always gleaned from our civilization, and for people to boycott this symbolic and wonderful event, and then to tweet something like this. Possibly it's a reflection of they believe that how many seats or how many MPs they are going to send to this new parliament.
Well, I can tell you that the number from Bihar will increase after delimitation. That's going to happen in another 4 or 5 years. So perhaps they're thinking of the future, but they're planning for it in a very bad way. I mean, I think there will be a backlash. They're digging their own coffin, excuse the pun. Viewers, this is not the way. I just want to go straight across to Pranesh to give you an idea. Pranesh, I know that a lot of it is invective, so we'll skip the invective, but the tweet and the reception to the tweet, especially by the people of this country. Could you just talk us through that? And Mr. Neelankantan is there, and also I want to bring in Mr. Ram Madhav on that right after. Yes, Pranesh.
Reprehensible public commentary by political class, at least leaders of the opposition. But I want to begin by what Prime Minister Modi has just tweeted right now. As you tossed to me, Rahul, he says, आज का दिन हम सभी देशवासियों के लिए अविस्मरणीय है. संसद का नया भवन हम सभी को गर्व और उम्मीदों से भर देता है. मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है कि ये दिव्य और भव्य इमारत जन जन के सशक्तिकरण के साथ ही राष्ट्र की समृद्धि और सामर्थ्य को नई गति और शक्ति प्रदान करेगा. And here's the tweet that we've been talking about. Look at this 3 words here, but the damage that this has done and the damage that this will do to the party. And there's more. Udit Raj, while the multi-faith prayer was on, this leader from the Congress party, he says, today is the inauguration of the new parliament building, and that will begin with chanting of Adheenam, Seers and other rituals. Haven't other religions like Buddhism, Islam, Sikhism, Jainism, other sects excluded? RSS succeeds. And he was tweeting this while we had the pictures of the multi-faith prayer on. Then you have Swami Prasad Maurya. Sengol राजदंड की स्थापना पूजन में केवल दक्षिण के कट्टरपंथी ब्राह्मण radical Brahmins from the south have been invited, says Swami Prasad Maurya of the Samajwadi party. What is the Samajwad in this message? I can't understand. And then you have the likes of Pankhuri Pathak of the Congress party who are going after Shah Rukh Khan because he put India first, Rahul.
Well, I just cannot understand this. Is this a deliberate attempt, Mr. Neelankantan, to play down the inclusive nature of this ceremony? Or is this just some deep-seated antipathy for India's Indic past? Or is it really just open partisanship on display?
Rahul, I think it is just petty politics. And over the last 70 years, what the secularism was envisaged by our founding fathers and what it has become now, it has become two totally different things. Culture is one thing and religiosity is another thing. Culture, we cannot stay away from culture, especially in a country like India, having a tradition of 6,000, 7,000 years, a civilization of 6,000, 7,000 years. I won't say civilization, it's a cluster of civilizations with some unifying thread. So such diversity and such huge tradition, we cannot ignore that. Many nations would give anything to have this kind of history and tradition. And when we are having it, why should we be ashamed of it? Or like some people say, we should be totally against that or anything. This problem we didn't have when we wrote the constitution itself. Even the constitution has a lot of imageries from various Indian tradition. The handwritten constitution, the first constitution itself, including from Ramayana and Mahabharata. The Buddhist symbols have been used in the lion symbol and the Dharma Chakra, Ashoka Chakra. So India has always been inclusive of all forms of darshanas. I won't even call it religions because these are all way of seeing life and the rest is the lived culture. So this is an inclusive nature of things and it is actually a step in progress, including the Sengol or Sengol. It is not just that of Chola civilization. I think Ram Madhavji had said it is of Pandyas also. I will add it is also of Cheras also. All the ancient civilization, all the ancient kingdoms had this. This is Rajadand. It is not a symbol of power as many people think. It is to remind the rulers. Now since there are no kings and only elected representatives, it is to remind the rulers that they should not deviate from the path of what is right and what is good for the people. And it is being kept not in the Prime Minister's seat. It is kept at the Speaker's chair, near the Speaker's chair. And this kind of symbolisms play a huge part in Recently, we saw that Rishi Sunak, who himself has claimed as a proud Hindu, reading out from Bible during the King Charles III's coronation. Why? Because it is a tradition of that nation and nobody had any problem with that, neither the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister of England or the people of England. But when such symbolisms are done now in India, which is rooted in Indian culture and tradition, along with an all-faith prayer, why this is made into a huge issue is perhaps an indication of how the way the secularism, the concept of secularism has become in this country now. Without mincing words, I would only say that. And the rest of the other things like tweets and other things are petty politics at its best. This is a momentous occasion.
At its worst, I would say. At its worst. I mean, some of this is actually politics that that doesn't edify politics itself, viewers. Politics is a beautiful art also. Let's not forget that. And life is politics at some level. Let's not forget that either. Dr. Ranganathan, yes.
Just a comment on those who are boycotting. I've just seen pardon my WhatsApp forward saying that the new parliament building must be the most Vastu compliant structure because all the negative energies are refusing to enter to begin with.
Yeah, this has been doing the rounds for a few days. Perhaps it comes down to that shape. Now, I just want to ask a fundamental question of you, Mr. Ram Madhav. I'm showing two photographs right now. One is when the Sengol was handed over to Jawaharlal Nehru, and if you go by the policy note that was put out by the Tamil Nadu government just about a year back, they said that this Sengol was given to Nehru to mark the transfer of power between British India and, of course, India. And on the right, you have the Prime Minister installing that Sengol now next to the Speaker's podium in the Lok Sabha, and we'll show you those pictures after, of course, performing a puja. Now, how is it that one individual is revered for being secular and the other person is being accused of promoting one particular faith or one particular tradition? How does this happen?
Rahul, we all must remember that this today is a moment of extreme frustration for certain sections of our opposition. On a lighter note, we call it the Bernal movement. So this is a Bernal movement. So they talk all sorts of nonsense. You just a little while ago talked about the RJD tweet. RJD is known for its uncouthness, uncivility. You remember in the parliament a few years ago, when Yogi Adityanath as member of parliament rose up to speak, Lalu Prasad was on his feet asking Baba to go back to his ashram and do bhajan. He said, Baba ji, aapko yahan kya kaam hai? Aap jaake ashram mein bhajan kariye. This is the level of RJD, you must remember. So, about that, coffins and all, don't take them seriously. It's a Bernal movement. And you used a very good pun. I was about to say that they are digging, RJD is digging its own grave where that coffin should ultimately go. But remember, this whole discourse is quite distorted. Right from the beginning. Nehru, of course, was never a believer in ritualistic religions, and he never had great respect for Hindu cultural and civilizational systems also. So although maybe because of compulsion, maybe because of Rajaji's insistence, he accepted Sengol at that time, he never looked at it as any important symbol to be placed in the parliament or something like that. That's why it became a walking stick in his own, it's a national monument, national museum at the Allahabad Prayagraj Museum. But its significance remains. So we need to strive for that India where the dharma, which is the constitution of India today. Let us not now create a conflict between dharma and constitution, whether Ambedkar is important or Hindu religion is important. Not that debate. No need of that. Today, that moral, political, ethical value system should prevail. Sengol should represent that. Why should anybody have any objection to it? That's the most unfortunate thing that's happening today. Opposition can have many objections, but they should at least have gone to the parliament, be present when this great historic momentous transformation is happening. Rahul, just one point. Many countries, after they became independent, built their own legislatures. New Zealand became independent together with us in 47. They built their parliament in 1949. Australia became independent in 85, built parliament in 89. Our own neighborhood, Sri Lanka, built its own parliament in 80s. Sure. We are the only country which continued with that building, which is insufficient, inadequate. We should be happy we have it today.
We should be happy we have it today. The colonial shadow receding. Uday Mahurkar also joins the panel. Very good morning. I'll come out to you in just a few moments. Dr. Ranganathan had been raising his hand. I want to bring him in and bring him back. 2 points, Dr. Ranganathan. Of course, please make the original one that you want to make. But I want to ask you, the opposition, fine, has boycotted, but we can't deny that there has been a breakdown. And perhaps there is some merit to the point that they were making also. Would you agree with me on the second point? But first, your comment.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to gently disagree with my good friend, Mr. Ram Madhav, that Nehru, as was authenticated by Dr. Ambedkar himself, was a hypocrite par excellence. In fact, the consecration post 15th August 1947, in Ambedkar's words, were done by Nehru to the great chanting by a lot of Pandits, and the whole ceremony was according to the Hindu, scriptures. And at the same time, Nehru forbade our first president, Rajendra Prasad, to go to, Gujarat and consecrate the new refurbished temple that was done after centuries, the Somnath one. I'm so glad that, Dr. Rajendra Prasad disagreed and actually went nonetheless. So, this is a country that has been laden with hypocrites from the time immemorial. But the fact remains that, one of the questions that, Rahul, you raised, I think merits answering. Because a lot of people, including, of course, the leftists and those from the Congress, believe and they propagate this notion that India was never one country before 1947. And, Udayji would throw more light on it. But, the very fact that you had a symbol that is a 1,000-year-old symbol that has been used today and was used in 1947 tells you that India has always been India. Our sacred geography and history, right from the Vishnu Purana to the Shakti Pithas. It is not that we were 600 principalities that came together by the British and the Congress to consecrate a nation called India. Sorry, no. India has always existed. And this is something that is being consecrated today, and we must respect it, and all political parties, because this is not some empire building or a nation getting strong. This is our civilizational heritage. And I say this again and again, that there is a difference between empires and civilizations. Civilizations last, empires don't. Why? Because we respect our ancestors. We believe in what they did. We want to correct the historical injustices that were unkind to them. And that is the reason why civilizations progress, and our is perhaps the only surviving, living, thriving Hindu civilization.
Yes, I mean, indigenous civilizations in number of continents have dwindled, as you know, viewers, under the force of other competing orientations. And I don't need to, name them. We all know what I'm referring to. But I want to bring in Mr. Ram Madhav as well as Mr. Uday Mahurkar. Mr. Uday Mahurkar first. Mr. Mahurkar, the question that I want to put to you is a more basic one. We've just heard Dr. Ranganathan talk about the fact that our civilization, etc., dates back to so many centuries. We don't have, through our history books, an understanding of this, unfortunately. And whether it is the Sengol, etc., it caught us all by surprise. I'm sure it became a talking point only in the last week because no one knew it existed. And I have to add here that there was an attempt to even rationalize not just the first wave of colonial settler invasion of India, but also the second, which is the British, by suggesting that, the Aryans had done it much before. So, as Dr. Ranganathan says, this fault line between north, south, etc., was very, very, very cleverly impregnated into our minds by coming up with this Aryan invasion theory, etc., etc. Can you shed some more light on this project?
You see, let us talk about the Sengol first. Sengol is basically the Rajdand of the north. It's a very ancient Indian tradition. It is a Rajdand, and even Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, as far as I know, when he ascended the throne in 1674, even he was given the Rajdand by the Supreme Pontiff of that time, Gaga Bhatt, who conducted the Rajyabhishek ceremony for him. So this is a very good move on the part of the Prime Minister, reviving a tradition which is common to the entire civilization, not to South alone. You have to understand that. Secondly, when you talk about, Mr. Ranganathan spoke about attempts being made to say that India was never a one nation before the British came. It is a totally false view. Savarkar has proved in his book Hindutva, he has proved through his other works that India civilizationally and culturally has been one nation for not hundreds, thousands of years. What he says is that Diwali is celebrated from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Kutch to Kamrup. Dussehra is celebrated from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Kamrup to Kutch. So India has been one nation for not hundreds, thousands of years. But I want to go shed further light into this, on this. You see, Gandhiji's murder by Godse was a very unfortunate thing which happened, most condemnable. But what happened after that? It brought into power those people who did not believe entirely in our culture or were against our culture. And they thrust upon a certain ideology on us which continued for almost 60 years. The ground was ready. Saints like Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo, my Guru Swami Pranavanandji of Bharat Seva Ashram Sangh, Dayanand Saraswati had prepared ground. But this reawakening is taking place in the last 5-10 years only, 10 years only, because a certain ideology was thrust on the country which continued for decades together. And one more thing, why they oppose Savarkar? The opposition parties oppose Savarkar because Savarkar's Hindutva is basically unalloyed nationalism. It says that nation is supreme And caste pride, regional pride, regional pride, religious pride are all secondary to national pride. So if Savarkar's ideology spreads in the nation, then it will be very, very difficult for the opposition to conduct its politics, because their politics is based on a divided India, what I call in Hindi, Vibhajit Bharat. Even parties, they divide Hindu votes, take the votes of the minorities, and they come to power. So let us understand this. This entire controversy is totally uncalled for. Today's development is a great development for this nation. Revival of the Sengol tradition is a very big thing, and it is common to the entire country, not to the south alone. So we have to understand this in a much larger perspective.
Right.
And lastly, I would like to say, Rahul, that the time has come for us to do debates on truthfulness. Even Jawaharlal Nehru, for that matter, I agree with Dr. Ranganathan, but then his place as an institution builder cannot be erased. So let us give people their due place, criticize them on what they have, what mistakes they have done. So I think the time has come. Today is a very sacred day. We should take a pledge to do debate based on truthfulness, Rahul.
Yeah, I think that is the Mr. Mohurkar, you're making a very important point there
today. Yeah,
because on Times Now we have taken an extremely bipartisan position. I've always said that yes, the opposition might have a grouse, they might have a problem with the fact that the president is not there, but the manner in which you express that position must be commensurate also with the occasion. And this particular occasion is not a session of parliament, viewers. This is a ceremonial function. Whether the opposition could have made this protest in a different way, conveyed the same meaning, is a matter for debate. And there is also, of course, the question of whether the government could have been more accommodating of what the opposition had wanted. And I want to bring in Mr. Ram Madhav on that. I just also want to very quickly welcome Dr. Sudha Seshayan, the G20 chair, member of the G20 panel also. India is hosting the G20 presidency, ma'am. And let's face it, it's a superpower in the making. It's already the top 5 economies in the world, poised to become the third in about 18 months. This projection of India's civilizational value is a message that there is a Western civilization, there is a Far Eastern civilization, but there's also an Indian way. And that Indian way needs to be accommodated and noticed. Would you agree with me?
I would even go to this extent of saying the Indian civilization or the Indian civilizational values are not kind of exclusively Indian. Indian civilizational core value is inclusiveness. We've always been accommodative and have taken good values or positive values from whichever part of the globe it had been. So that kind of inclusiveness is part of the Indian system. And this Sengol ceremony, I would only say, is a recap of the inclusive sentiment that Indian civilization or Indian culture had always been having.
Interesting. Ram Madhav, I just want to bring you in on this because there is a view, and if you want to address this issue honestly, as Mr. Mohurkar says, you have to also look at the grievance of the opposition. They believe that certain parliamentary procedure over the last few years have been cast aside, that constitutionalism that informs quite a bit of how parliament functions has been set aside, and that the government could have done a lot more to accommodate the grievances of the opposition, specifically also on the issue of, for example, inviting the president to inaugurate the new parliament. How do you address this criticism that is coming the government's way?
Criticism in a democracy is always welcome. It's an integral part of any democratic society. So opposition has a right to raise those issues. But since there was that reference to Somnath, let me make one very important point. You know, Nehru did write to Rajendra Prasad that maybe by our constitutional tradition as the President of India, for you to go and do that inauguration is not appropriate. He did write to Rajendra Prasad, that letter is available, everybody knows, there is nothing new about it. But the fact remains that when Rajendra Prasad decided to go, Nehru did not hold him and put him in jail. He allowed him to go. So what opposition should remember is, having made your criticism, take a leaf from Nehru's book itself. Go and attend the program. You did make a point, okay, President should have been there. Country understood the point. Whether country accepts it, not accepts it, we will see. But why to boycott the event? And this is one occasion which began with offering tributes to Mahatma Gandhi, who many disagree on many issues with him, ideological issues with him, but he was there. His big statue was again installed, like it was there in the old Parliament, and same tradition, same Parliament. They should have happily participated in the event while registering their protest. That should be the true spirit of the opposition in any true democracy. Boycotting is sending a very bad message to entire world. They have done a great harm, great injustice to the spirit of this country. On the Salman occasion, they left this bad this thing on a very wonderful and a very proud occasion for the whole country.